Welcome to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people, where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge magic has to offer, a place to illuminate and demystify all things magical. Hello, my magicians. My name is Annalisa, and I am one of the co-hosts and creators of Magical Aspirations, and we are so glad that you found us here. We figured we would start off this new year, and since we've got some new followers and listeners, that we would take this time to reintroduce ourselves, come back to where it all started, and set some new goals for moving forward. It all began with three badass witches chatting about our magical lives and asking all of the questions about magic, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today, and probably for most of 2023, if I had to guess. Like I said, I'm Annalisa. This podcast is my little baby. It was born out of an overwhelming need to explore and learn all of the things I could about magic to help find out who I am and who I am as a magical practitioner. And then that I wanted to just talk to everyone about it. Most of my magical journey has been solo, but a few sages have popped up along the way. Two of those ladies are right here with me right now. We've got Adreyauna and Reverend Raven, also known as Becky. So, Adreyauna, let's go ahead and say hi to the people. Tell them who you are for those old and new.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. I'm Adreyauna. I am also the owner, head witch in charge of Ink to Prosperity, where I do readings, coaching, and just, sharing resources. I am based out of Tennessee, East Tennessee, for all you Southern belles out there. And I am super excited to see what 2023 has in store for us at Magical Aspirations, and really excited to just learn more, delve deeper, and develop confidence in our fucking skills and leadership is truly what is near and dear to my heart. So I will pass it along to Miss Reverend Raven.
Well, caw. Here I am, Reverend Raven. I have been born out of a sense of needing to be the mouthpiece for my community. I identify very heavily with the Raven, and so that's why I decided to take this name. I am a wedding officiant. I perform public rituals and community rituals. Have, like I said, just a big passion for pulling people together who need to find one another. I've been practicing magic for about 20 years now and hail from Noblesville, Indiana, which most of you probably have never heard of, but now am in the magical city of New Orleans. So I'm just really looking forward to spending 2023 learning and growing with all y'all.
I am here for every last ounce of that. So, ladies, what are we bringing to the table today? I say we're just going to have a conversation. Everybody, no mute. We're just going to talk. Turn yourselves off mute. Let's do it.
Done.
I love it.
All right.
Well,
here we are. If you hear the dog and the music in the background, we're raw and ready to roll.
That's great. So be it. This is a vulnerable place for all of our new listeners that we've got out there. We always talk whenever we have guests about what our magical aspirations are. So I guess truthfully, without giving it much thought, what are, ladies, magical aspirations? Mine are, I really liked what Adreyauna said about like honing like leadership skills and kind of like stuff like that. Like we've been lucky enough to bring this platform to the table for almost a whole year now. And it has kind of taken me on a self-discovery journey that I really never thought it would be. And it turns out that I have no idea who I am. I have done a lot of really good unlearning for things that I know I am not, but that has kind of left a small void of not knowing where to go. So those are my magical aspirations, which I think if I go back and listen to our first episode, they might be very similar, of like just honing who I am as a person, as a magician, a magical practitioner, a witch. I still don't know what I identify as, but that, figuring it out.
I love that. I love how open you are about the fact that you're still figuring it out, because hello, aren't we all?
Yes.
So yeah, I think my magical aspirations for right now are definitely the confidence. And then also to learn more about, I guess personally, learn more about my ancestry. And I think that also was my Magical Aspirations last year. Anyway, about my ancestry and what type of spiritual practices that they continue to practice. And then for this podcast, this community, I would just love to see more interaction and connection with us and those who listen, those we interview, and just continue to build that community feel, because that's what keeps me coming back for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely am going to echo a lot of the same thoughts and feelings there. My magical aspirations are to bring people together, help us on our own sense of self-discovery, because the path is our own individually. It's ours to figure out who we are and where we're going, but we don't have to walk that path alone. So building that sense of community and letting people interact with one another, that is my true passion in life, in everything I do, in all of the aspects of the community that I touch and that I reach out to. I want others to realize that they're not alone. And the other thing that I am still learning is that there is so much power in vulnerability. That we don't have to have it all figured out before we start walking. We don't have to have the whole giant plan all crafted and created and looking beautiful before we start walking on it. We can take one step forward and then figure out where we're going next.
Yes. And one of the big messages that I found that has just been ringing very true in our last interview with Catherine, who's now the New Orleans Fit Witch, like we talked about in that episode, about that she has totally redefined who she was at 50. And we all know the pressure of that, being a woman in America, in our society, of having to, there's this timeline that by this age you got to do this, and by this age you got to do that. And I, like Adreyauna commented, like, I feel like I have no choice but to be open about this magical journey, because there is no timeline to it. Like, who says I am supposed to be at a certain point on a certain path by a certain age? Like, I don't know who the fuck I am. So how am I supposed to know what, who you are fuels all of your magic. So if you don't know who you are, then your magic is not very strong. And that is something that I have really struggled with over the last 6 months of being on this kind of, like I said, unlearning journey, trying to refigure it out. And like, my magic has wavered, and like, I can feel, I'm still feeling this, like, kind of, the imagery that's coming to mind is like before the tsunami, as like the tide starts to kind of come back, like suck away from the shore. Yeah. That's what it feels like right now. But like, I keep trying to remind myself that like behind that imagery, there's a huge surge forward. So like, once I find the answers I'm looking for, my magic should bounce back right along with that.
Yes. Yeah. I have so many thoughts on that. But I 100% been there, feel that. And it was something that I struggled with quite a lot. And for me, it wasn't about like, I don't know who I am. It more so was coming from this place of, I don't know if I'm worthy. And so that, having to struggle with that, and finally having these moments where it was just me and my ancestors really diving into this wound. And once I broke through it, time and time, it took a lot of fucking time. But once I broke through it, like you said, that tsunami came crashing back, and things that would take me several tries to manifest or do, I was able to just do it one time and it was done. So yeah, it's very much that. But then there's also something that's pulling me, nudging me to ask you around, like, do you need to know all of who you are? Do you just need to have a core around, like, this is what I want, this is what I'm aspiring, this is what I believe in, and then build your magic from that? Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. And that's a very good That's a very good note. See, this is what I'm talking about. I love this podcast that we can help other people, but like we are not, like I feel like we end up talking about a lot of like kind of bordering on self-help stuff, but like isn't that just what magic and witchcraft really is? Like I love when you hear people talking about like witchcraft just being spicy psychology, because that is what it is for me. Like it and yeah, at once I don't think I need to know. And I think that's the answer I'm starting to figure out.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. So you don't have to have it all figured out. You just
Yeah.
need
Right.
to know, like, in your core, what are your values? And then you can go from there. What are your actions based on your values? And that kind of goes back to conversation that we had at the very beginning, talking about spiritual nutrition. If we go back and listen to those episodes, you know, us figuring out like our actions are aligned with our values. So, you
Very
know,
much that.
talking about goal setting and, you know, the conversation that we had with Catherine about that is, you know, that we can design our goals based on our values. But don't be stifled in the fact that we don't have it like all figured out yet, you know?
Yeah.
And also, this is a note that I wrote like in bold on my whiteboard from that conversation was, you attract what you are, not what you want. So that means like you're going to attract the things based on who you are inside, you know, your values. Not like a laundry list of things you want, like say a house, you know, you're talking about like your friend wanting to buy a house and things like that. You're not attracting a house because you want a house. You may attract a house because you're wanting a sense of security, you know, you're wanting to feel stable, you're wanting to build a home, you know, things like that. You can attract the things, you can manifest them based on who you are.
Ashe. All right, so that's the podcast.
We talked to a lot of smart people around here. And, you know, the next note is about gratitude, you know, being grateful for what we have. But that's also showing gratitude for who we are.
Absolutely.
We need to be grateful for all of these things that we have inside of us, everything that makes us up.
It takes
That's
practice.
a good note. That's a good note.
And especially
what a good
I was
what
writing
a good
down
affirmation.
the full moon you know, was yesterday. It was in Cancer, and the moon is moving into Leo this evening, just, you know, in a couple hours. And one of the podcasts that I listen to regularly, Cosmic RX with Maddie Murphy, I'm a cosmic baddie, hardcore over here. She said to be extra compassionate to ourselves tonight, and that we are worth taking care of.
Yes, and yes. That right there, that one phrase has been resonating with me for all of 2022 and now. And part of the reason why I feel so like motivated and excited about this year, despite like 2022 being like a fucking roller coaster, is that phrase around like you are worth it. It is the time, the resources, and the energy it takes to care for myself is totally worth it. And part of my goal for 2022 was to rest and to enjoy and to live. And I was able to take like all of December off from Into Prosperity. not my muggle job, not the human job. We ain't got there yet, but I was able to just like shut down Into Prosperity for the month, and that's something that I've had on my vision board for years. But I always thought like I had to be productive in my business. I had to be marketing. I had to be selling something, and I finally came to the point of like, I will crumble. I will literally shut this fucking business down if I don't take time for myself. And it was either me or Into Prosperity. And I refused to be controlled and by an entity that I created. Like that's the magic I created. It's not going to rule me. I'm going to be the one that says, no, you do this and you do that. And so that moment of saying like, yes, I am worth this time. I am worth a month. That's been life-changing for me. So yes, we need it.
And I'm just so glad that you did that, because like even last week, for anybody that follows us regularly, we didn't put anything out last week, and I know we said that we would, and it sat on my soul for like the whole week before that. I knew we didn't have anything planned, but like I kind of knew that everybody had a bunch of shit going on, and it was okay for us to not put anything out last week, because I would rather not put something out than do something that's going to kind of be subpar. Like, like we all had shit going on that took priority elsewhere, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because rest is important.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And that's been a really hard lesson that I've had to learn, like crash and burn style a few times, where it's like, I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to plan all these events. I'm doing this fundraiser over here and I'm working 50 hours. I'm going to get off work and then I'm going to go do this thing. And then, I'm going to come home and, I'm going to fall asleep on the fucking couch. And because I'm just so exhausted because I have so much on my plate that I wasn't making time for myself. And then it took me getting to a point where I was failing at some of the things that I really wanted to do. I was, I put on some events that, frankly, they sucked. People didn't come. We didn't hardly raise any money, things like that, because I didn't have the energy to put into the marketing. I didn't have the time to put into promoting the events. And they were things that were near and dear to my heart, but I just did not have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
So I had to look at that and realize that I wasn't helping anyone by not being able to give my 100% or even give my 80%, and asking for help from other people. That's what it's all about. Putting together community events should involve the community.
Oof.
It shouldn't just be me doing everything for everyone.
Right.
Here you go. Here's an event on a platter.
Well, and then I'm curious of how does that, when you find yourself getting into kind of those like crash and burn moments, like how does that affect your magic?
Definitely.
Like it gets chaotic and
I have no energy to even care about it. And, I'm making mistakes at work and things like that. I know I shared this story with you, Annalisa, but literally a few weeks ago, I had a stranger walk into my work on a Wednesday on the winter solstice, looks me in the eye and says, "You're losing your power?"
Huh?
Because I said, I was answering them about, I'm sorry I couldn't talk to you when I first came in. I was on the phone, there's this construction going on next door and my voice was going out because of all the construction. There was a bunch of dust. I had been overwhelmed, so I hadn't been, getting enough rest and things like that. But I was having trouble communicating with them. They couldn't hear me. And they looked me dead in my eyes and said, "You're losing your power?" That took me back. I just got called out by a fucking stranger.
How dare you?
It was no stranger, madam.
Right.
On the solstice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And Adam, he laughed when I told him this story and he said, "Did she have one eye?" Was this Odin? A weary traveler looking for comfort.
Wow.
Giving wise cryptic messages.
And I'm still feeling that, but I'm doing the best I can since then to rest, to recover, including self-care things on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Because it's not optional. Taking care of myself is not an option. It's fucking required.
I went through initiation last year, and my priestess talked about that from day one to all the way past our initiate, and we'll still check in about that very tactic around, if you don't take care of yourself, you will lose, not permanently lose, but you will lose a connection with yourself, with your spirit guides. You'll misinterpret signs. Your dreams will be shit. They will be shit.
Right.
And the things that once came so natural and easy to you will become extremely difficult. So it is imperative for you as a caretaker, as a practitioner, as a leader in the community, to take care of yourself. It's like you said, it's no longer a luxury or a nice to do. It is a fucking requirement.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I don't take care of myself, nobody else will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be like mad at others because I'm not asking for help either.
Right.
If no one knows I need help, that's my fault.
God, isn't that the truth? Well, there is a TikTok, Instagram person that I follow, Madam Adam. He's a tarot reader. Super wonderful. He also has a podcast that I had kind of just recently started listening to. I really enjoy listening to people read tarot cards. It's one of the best ways that I have found to learn. And I really appreciate hearing like multiple interpretations. It's very fascinating to me. But he was talking about how he was taught that put yourself inside of a star, a pentagram, some 5-pointed / sided thing. And each point, the 5 of those are the only priorities you get. And the top one has to be you. So you get only 4 other priorities in life. And I've been thinking about that a lot over the last few days. And like, for someone who is a chronic overgiver, that's hard. Like, because the things that are in my other 4 points are broad enough to kind of still encompass more than one thing. So like, does that count? Like, are each of those things only supposed to be a priority? Like, and it just really starts to make you think about, like, you know, we're talking about goal setting and definitely knowing what your priorities are. That has just been something that's been ringing kind of true in my ears, that I kind of challenge everybody. It's more difficult than you think.
Yeah. That makes me think of, Jackie really likes to use the analogy of, you know, juggling balls, and there's your glass balls and your plastic balls. And so choosing which things in your life are your glass balls. What are the things that you cannot drop or they will break?
Yeah.
And figuring that out before you add more balls in.
Absolutely.
She is uplifting as fuck. Like, I enjoy the shit out of her social media, because I mentioned it in our interview with Catherine. I especially, okay, so grandma's gonna come out of the closet here. I didn't know much about anything about Instagram until for the podcast, so I've been trying to figure it out. But one of the things that I have forced myself to not do is, there are like a tiny handful of people that I follow personally. I only follow like artwork or food, or like there's a psychologist that I follow. So like, it's not an overflood of like, sorry to bag on Facebook for a minute, but like, Facebook is all these people that you know, those people that like, you've got your circle, you know, your friends, you guys, your husband, but then you've got your square, and in the 4 corners that aren't encompassed by that circle, it's just fucking people you have no choice but to deal with all the time. A bunch of those people are on Facebook, right? So like, I gravitate away from that and more to Instagram now, because I don't have to look at any of that. And that has been, I had a point. I lost it. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, you're talking about the inspiration that is Jackie.
Yes, there we go. She is so real. And I appreciate that too. That like, she talks about, you know, as we've talked about, making mistakes and having to restructure and remake your goals, and like being real about challenges. So I do encourage everyone. I'll post her links
Please
we'll share some stuff from her.
And another powerful message that, you know, I've seen her share quite a bit recently is choosing the energy that you take in.
Yeah.
So if you know that there are a bunch of negative people on your Facebook feed, you could either remove them from your friends, you could block them, or you could just not get on Facebook. Like you can choose
that's what I've been doing lately.
You are exposed
Right.
to, you know, because you are being a protector of the energy that you're taking in.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that makes me think about in goal setting and like think about priorities and whatnot, and how protective sometimes you have, not sometimes, but you have to straight up be protective of those priorities, because it's easy for those we love and care about, or those who are in our lives often, to want to deter those goals, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And decide, it's like you have to decide, how much am I going to bend, how much, before it's either them or the goal. And that sucks. It sucks so much. And maybe I also recognize that may be a flaw within myself, of where sometimes it feels like it is either you or them, and I don't want it to always have to be that way. I want us to all coexist, but some things just require you to have a hard no.
Right. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy, and sometimes that doesn't even mean you're a bad guy. Like you feel bad about it, but you're setting a boundary for yourself. Like you're protecting your own energy. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you do still feel like a fucking bad guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I used to like think that discipline equals punishment, discipline equals bad. So unlearning that and understanding that discipline is necessary to get anything done, and restructuring the way I connect with discipline and how it shows up in my life has also helped set boundaries in a better way, so it's not such a triggering thing. Because sometimes like when we set boundaries, it's like grief comes up, anger, all the things, and we end up reverting back to old ways, blah blah blah. So I had to restart with the discipline to then come back to the ooey gooiness of boundary setting, if that makes sense. I feel like I said a lot but didn't say anything.
I am so glad, one, that I'm not alone in that feeling, but also you are making perfect sense, because like that it loops back around to the magical side of it. Like that's what, like the spicy psychology thing being magic and witchcraft. Like if you listen to astrologers, any of your magical woo-woo people who are talking about anything over the course of the new year, protection has been heavy talk. And I feel like it gets more and bigger every kind of passing year that goes by, because I don't think that people understand what protection is needed. It's not physical. I mean, like, yes, it's physical walls and all of that stuff, but like it's beyond that. It's protecting your energy, like we were talking about earlier. And like it's just so important. Like, you know, even if it's just lighting the candle, holding the rock, whatever it may be. Do you guys find that y'all have been doing anything more or different with your kind of just daily here to there protection magic? I'm kind of curious about that, how that's been changing.
But I should.
That's real.
We're gonna have to get like an honesty bell, because like ding, yes, that's exactly I should.
Because I feel that, like I feel like I'm, you know, undergoing these situations where I'm undergoing like psychic attacks and things like that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something malicious. I think that's what sometimes people get, like, you know, bogged down in the idea that like someone's trying to harm me. Well, sometimes there's just a bunch of chaotic energy around.
Literally.
Right.
No, sometimes it's not someone's coming after you. It's not like malicious, someone's trying to attack you. It's just that there is a bunch of fucking chaos.
And
And
sometimes it's about
sometimes you
keeping
get
you,
bogged
it's
down in
keeping
it.
you in, right?
Yes.
Like think of
Yeah.
like I'm sitting here looking at my backyard. My dogs are foolish and they would run away. Like I have a Springer Spaniel whose nose is attached to the ground.
Oh,
He would
geez.
follow a
Yeah.
trail to the end of the earth. There's a
Yeah.
fence in my yard to keep him safe. Like to
Right.
keep his boundaries protected. And like, sorry, I got real emphatic about that. I think I needed to hear that out loud for myself. Like, put the
Yeah.
fence around yourself sometimes to keep your own pieces in. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's where I struggle, is that I'm so in like a yearning to reach out to people that like I shoot my energy out at them sometimes. And I'm
Yep.
real bad about pulling that back in.
That's a good
Especially
point.
when you see people that you care about hurting.
Mhm.
Like that's something
Mhm.
that's really hard for me, because it's like I see them hurting and I really want to help them. So if there's not something I physically know how to do, you know, I am entangling my energy with them, you know. But I could just, you know, send them positive thoughts or burn a candle for them and then cut it off, that, you know, be done with that. I don't have to
Yeah.
still be entangled in the negativity that's going on in their lives energetically. I can wish them well and move on.
Yeah, I think that's probably been my protective practice, that understanding and accepting that me just talking to somebody and asking how they're doing and talking through whatever it is, and then letting it stop there instead of me having to go the extra mile to figure out, okay, what can
How can
I
I fix
do?
it?
How can I fix
Right.
it? Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And just letting it be, like you said, letting it be. And that has been, oh, it's been hard. Sometimes it makes me feel like I'm constipated, but it also feels, yeah, it's so much better. Like once that feeling passes, it made me realize, like, wow, I have so much more energy now. I wonder fucking why.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like physically not weighed down anymore.
Yeah.
And letting it go, like, you know, going back to calling your energy back to you, calling your breath back to you at the end of the day. You know, that's an analogy or practice that we kind of keep going back to. Like, that is something that gives us power. You know, we can not be attached to that negative thing that happened to us in our day. We can let go that we got cut off in traffic, or that our boss was mean to us, or that a customer pissed us off, or whatever. We can, after that interaction happens, we can let go, and it doesn't have to have power over us anymore.
That's such a good theory.
we can then go and we can use our energy on something that's going to help us. Like maybe it's, you know, reading a book or doing our cross stitch. Like we're old ladies, like we are, and
old lady and proud.
Doing the things that we want to do though for us, instead of being all in that, oh, I can't believe they did this, and blah blah. You know, staying down in that negativity.
Yeah,
it gives us more space to take care of ourselves.
Listening to you talk about that is like reminding me of, I'm like paying attention to my patterns now, like reflecting on what's been happening with me over the past few months. And I think a big change has been like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to journal about it. I don't want to pray about it. I don't want to light a fucking candle about it. I just want to move my body in a visceral, violent way, however that looks. And so sometimes it's dancing. Tomorrow it's gonna be, my girlfriend and I are going to a fucking rage room, you know.
Ooh, yes.
Like I have passed the point of needing to verbalize all these things, and my body just needs to like let it out some type of way. And so if you are too like that, and you're still, after you journaled about it and you meditated and did all the woo-woo, and you still feel that itch, you still feel that anxiousness, move your body in some sort of way. Dance like there is no tomorrow to the wildest song. Go crack some shit, throw some eggs. I don't know, literally, but like we have to somatically soothe that part of ourselves as well, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I experienced a fascinating thing just in the past couple of weeks. So my neighbors across the street are real bad about letting their dogs just dog about, and I almost killed their Boston Terrier in my own driveway. And so
Oh no.
my wonderful, amazing husband, though, I had a moment of like actual physical red blinding rage. And like, I have never successfully been able to I elected to, in a moment of pure blinding red rage, put myself in the backyard and just like breathe it out. It took like probably about 5 minutes and like nobody talking to me or anything like that. But that was I'm going to call that magic, because like I wanted to go knock on their door and be a psycho. Like, because I'm not going to have your dumb dogs conscious on my own driveway. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not happening. But like, more the point of the story being that like I saw the emotion like coming. I saw it coming from a mile away. I felt it. I actively felt it. And I was able to move through it and be done with it. That was a moment of pure magic that I've never been able to do before.
Wow, that's super powerful. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's jump back to astrology here.
Yes.
Over here, Leo sun, Aries moon, Taurus rising. I know
you don't get hot at all.
And holding on to a grudge like a motherfucker. So I'm very proud of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you're over here talking about you don't know who you are. Girl, please.
I'm figuring it out. Well, because like I said, I've done a lot of unlearning. Like in that, I don't think there's enough credit given to that part of the journey. Yes, it's learning. Yes, it's figuring out. But like there's a lot of unshedding to do from my dad was someone who had some explosive anger sometimes. And so like there are situations I see him in, you know, like that initial response that I wanted to do was to go beat on my neighbor's door and exchange some real pissy words. That was him. Like that is, we joke all the time about like that actually being like an ancestral trait, that hot Italian anger like comes right from him and right from my papa. And I have to imagine probably my great papa before that. But like, I'm sorry. I'm like processing this as I'm saying it.
No,
out
that's
loud
great.
About like part of the breaking of like the generational stuff, you know, like good for me. Sorry, I'm gonna pat myself on the shoulder.
Yes, you should.
Do it. Love you.
I love y'all.
And then that's a really good example that we have the power to make changes in our own responses to things. So, because I used to be a very hot-tempered person. And that is something that I have learned over time, you know, to tamper. Like I sit and think about it before I say it, because I can say some really hurtful things. And I don't want to hurt the person in the long run. Like it took me hurting people and hurting people and hurting people, and then looking back and saying, I really didn't want to hurt them, or they didn't. The biggest lesson was losing Adam for the first time and learning he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve what I did to him.
Absolutely.
And I had to own my mistakes and learn how to deal with situations in a different manner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because as much as I want to go off the deep end sometimes, you know, it's not worth it. It's not worth the consequences of saying hurtful things.
Absolutely. And that's maturity. That is maturity. And that reminds me of how easy sometimes people will like magically, I'm gonna hex them just because somebody like cut you off in line. Like, girl, sit down. Sit down somewhere.
Calm the fuck down.
Right.
You are expending energy that you don't even need to. You don't even need to. It could go somewhere else. It could be channeled into something else. You could be growing your money instead of
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on somebody who was having a shit day, basically.
Right.
Accountability.
That's hard.
Accountability is hard.
So-
It sucks. We love it. We need it. But yeah.
So accountability. What are our goals for this year? Let's throw them out.
Okay, let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
Where to start? Like goals for ourselves? Like I think I need a little bit more.
Let's start with
specificity.
podcast goals.
Oh,
or your magical goals.
Yeah.
ooh, I like that. I like that.
Ooh.
Okay. I have that written down.
What are my magical goals?
So I'll go ahead and go, and you guys can think about, because I put you on the spot a little bit. I wrote down on this piece of paper right before we started talking, because I've been doing a lot of work on goal setting, and again, not really like this is the right writing and the wording is right and this is what I'm going to put on a vision board, because I just feel like everything is still morphing and revealing. So I've written down things in a bunch of different places, but on this piece of paper in front of me, it says, number 1, make myself a priority. What does that look like? So that includes time for study, spiritual meetups with community members, attending events, not always being the one putting them on.
Not just planning them. Yeah.
Delve into new areas and topics, and time for self-reflection. Because why is that so hard to just sit with my fucking self? There's a lesson there. That I have trouble just sitting and being quiet and sitting with myself. So that's all in there. I'm going to add my spiritual goals into my overall wellness goals and make it part of my daily practice. So daily, either working out, yoga, or meditation, those all are part of my wellness goals, including affirmations and gratitude as a way to start the day. So I've been listening to just like little YouTube videos and podcasts and things like that are short while I'm like showering in the morning or on the drive into work and things like that. So that's like how I'm starting my day, listening to those things and repeating them. And then development. So either listening to a podcast or reading short articles throughout the day of things that interest me in my spiritual study. So my areas of study for next year, I've got 2 big things that I want to learn about. One is astrology, and the other one is learning more about Norse traditions. So, and I've got some kind of a pass for those. For astrology, we made a study group in our Stonewolf Collective. So it's an online portal where we're all sharing information about learning about right now about reading a birth chart. I'm going to do a lesson on the different houses. So then I'm going to have to learn about it so I can present it.
Love that.
And then as we
So that's going to be a podcast episode.
as we go, yeah, definitely we can. And as we go through the different signs, have different people, maybe the person whose sign it is, because they might be more interested in it, talk about it. And so allowing people in the community to teach each other, it really allows you to learn more. Like you being the teacher makes you have to learn more about it, so then you can teach it to others. So including everyone in that learning process.
I love that.
That is, look at you. You got a lot of goals. You know that, right? Like, which is good. I don't say that as a bad thing.
Girl, that's the story of my fucking life.
But I guess I am appreciative and like truthfully, I guess a little envious, and I always have been, of like your surety of things. I feel like unsureness is something that I have always felt really. Because like even as we're like talking about like what our goals are and stuff like that, like it's difficult.
It is.
It is.
I've been working on this for 3 months, dude. This is what I came up with. But I'm like, I keep writing things in different ways, and like I'm not happy with it because I don't have like on Mondays you do this, on Tuesdays you do that. Like, because in my mind I think that I need to have some rigid plan, but every time I make up some rigid plan, I don't fucking stick to it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this way this time. And then we'll review and see what happens.
Well, this is recorded for everyone to hear, so we'll have an actual loop back around.
Accountability.
Yeah, that's something I've really appreciated. I think that's maybe why led to so much question about who I am, is because like having this platform, like I guess I've felt a small amount of pressure to be this one thing, like, you know, and that's like, it's okay for us to change who we are and how we do this, be it personally, the podcast, magically.
Yeah, it is. It gives us room to be, period.
Yes.
Room to be.
Maybe that's a goal for this year, just being okay with the grace of growth.
Ooh!
Yeah, girl, I love that.
I like that.
Because one of the things I was thinking on my way to work this morning that I forgot until just now was that we were talking about gratitude and about being grateful for how far I've come.
Yes.
Because I have.
You have.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. And you're growing like the moon.
Oh.
Sometimes it grows, what we can see, and sometimes it wanes. And it's okay that sometimes we shine brighter than others.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's the one.
That's well done. What about you, Adri? What are your goals, girl?
Okay. So definitely I feel Reverend Raven on the community events, both putting them on and participating in them. I have definitely been super solo this year, or this past year, and I want to get back into the community. I also would like to pick back my study of bone divination and really, like taking it more seriously and being as into it as I was when I was studying tarot. So I really want, like, I can feel that pull to it. So I need to like answer the fucking call. Also not overloading my schedule, which so bad about that. It's like, oh, I have an open spot here. Yeah, let me just put something right there. No. We're gonna let space be space, and being more stern around my evening and morning times is gonna be huge for me, because y'all know mornings are my sacred times and evenings tend to be when like family time or just like house duty time or whatever, or fun time, whatever you want it to be. So I need to just let that be what it is, instead of like, yeah, it's fine for me to do this till 8 o'clock. No,
it's not.
No, it's not. So yeah. I got 4 more. Okay, so bear with me. Next is making my partner and my family a top priority for my energy and my care, instead of it being more external facing. And I think that's just because I was so dead set on like business, career, gotta make those things top. And like now that's still important and I'm still working on those things, but it's detrimented my relationships with my family and my loved ones. So I don't want that to be a thing. I don't value that anymore. So shifting that. Take more trips, because I am a Sag moon. Put me outside. Let me go explore the things. And financial discipline is really important for me as well. And then I wanted to leave room for me to make more adventurous goals as they come up throughout the year.
Ooh.
I
like
like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to figure this all out right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
So this was a thought that I had right before we jumped on here and talking about goals. And I'm the queen of writing a huge list or putting too much on my schedule and not having time for it. But what if we like quarterly reviewed these goals and we let ourselves rewrite them?
I like it.
Yes, I love that.
Because what if, in 3 months from now, we're looking at these goals and instead of beating ourselves up like, oh, I didn't get this done or I didn't get that done, what if it's not a priority to us anymore? Like we could write a different goal or we could shift that goal instead of being like so rigid into like, oh, I have to do all of these things.
Yes.
That maybe don't align with me anymore.
Right. Circumstances change and things change. And like sometimes priorities need to shift order sometimes. Like that is, yes. I love the word. I put
thought that's similar to that is that something I started doing a few weeks ago, and you reminded me of when you're talking about leaving space in your schedule. So if I have like a day off, I always make this giant ass to-do list, and then I get really frustrated because I get like 3 things done on them. Maybe I'll get 1 thing done on them, but I'm really like frustrated because I like had this whole day and I, it's my only day off and I didn't get all this stuff done. So I'm like, I make that list and that is for the week. So then like the next day when I get home from work, I could fold the laundry. And then like the next day I could like, clean the bathtub. Like I don't have to do everything on my 1 day off that I had. So it's not that I'm like, I failed. Like, what if that list that I made, is for the week?
Yeah. I second that. I started taking note of like the things that take me a long time. So like laundry, I could take all day to do laundry, not because I have shit ton of laundry, but just because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put that in the dryer, forget about it for 3 hours, and then maybe like that kind of thing. So those things that I know I'm gonna take a long time, I'm just like, it'll get done. It's fine. It's fine.
Or if like I finish the clothes and they sit in the laundry basket for a day, and then the next day I fold them, and then the next day I put them away. Like that's not the end of the world. I don't have to beat myself up because of that.
Exactly. Ugh, perfectionism.
Yeah,
get this out of here.
Yeah,
get out of here.
We're leaving you in 2022. That's
we are.
Give ourselves grace, the grace of growth.
Yes. Well, ladies, is there anything else related to goal setting that is on our minds?
That was a lot.
It was.
We really covered. I don't really think there's a much better note of leaving on than just giving yourself the grace of growth, except just this, that like, if anybody has been feeling, I know it's the beginning of the new year, but like, it's still fucking winter. Yeah. It's okay if you aren't blooming just yet. The spring is coming. It's coming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
There will be time for everything to go in motion and move quickly and all of that, but that's not here yet. And so we can give ourselves, the time to rest and spend time with our loved ones and spend time with our fucking selves.
Yes. Do it. Do it.
And one last thing I wanted to just jump in and say, for everybody that's been listening to the podcast is please interact with us. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
Please. What are your thoughts? What are your magical goals?
Tell us.
We want to see where you're at and what are some topics you'd like to hear us, discuss. We can interview some cool people. This is a great excuse for us to get to talk to people that we would have never got to talk to. So
100,000%.
So just guess. It'll let us grow a pair and reach out to strangers. So we appreciate it. We want to hear
really
from you.
Yeah, we do. We do this for us, but we definitely do it for you guys, the listeners. So reach out. The website, the Instagram, the Facebook. Find us, rate us on Spotify, whoever. Do all the things. Please show us your love and support.
Thank you so much.
I think that's all we've got for today, my people. So on that note, stay magical, everybody.
Stay magical. Maybe one time
that was actually really
maybe
good.
one time we can all sing in harmony.
Stay magical. You'll know that I'm gonna cut that in, right? That was recorded.
Do it.
That's funny.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adreyauna, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.